Hello, Packers fans. We are here for your wild card pregame show. We've done 20 of these shows. Hopefully, we'll get to 21 next week. Fingers crossed. I'd much rather be talking about Packers versus Seahawks than Packers off-season moves. So let's hopefully see that reality come to pass on Saturday. And I think it will. If the Packers take care of business, I think the Packers will be successful on Saturday night. And this is a great game if you're a Packer fan. Packers versus Bears, one of our biggest rivals. This has only happened three times in the history of the NFL that the Packers and Bears have played in in the playoffs. Last time was the NFC title game in 2010, where the Packers beat the Bears and went on to win a Super Bowl. So, there is a great precedent there if you want to look at history and say that beating the Bears is one of the keys to getting the Packers to the Super Bowl. I'm on board for that. Packers players have come out very vocally this week saying they want this game, that they're excited that they're playing the Bears. Is it because, they kind of fumbled away literally a game a couple weeks ago on the Bears that decided the division? Absolutely. Is it because of the rivalry? Absolutely. Is it because the Packers know if they lose this game, their season is over? Absolutely. All these things are true. The Packers have a lot to play for and every reason to bring their A game this week, including revenge after that game against Week 2 where Jordan Love was knocked out of the game on a dirty hit, and the Packers found a way to lose a game that they should have won. Again, the Packers lose, their season is over. Many players are moving on with the Packers after their Packers' final game, whether it's this week or it's against the Seahawks or hopefully after a Super Bowl victory. There's going to be a lot of Packers that are moving on to other teams, and they're auditioning for their jobs next year, whether they come back with the Packers or they come back and play for another team. How they play in the playoffs matters. So that is something that fans will be watching, the NFL will be watching, and general managers looking to add Packers to their team are going to be watching that as well. So how you win matters. How you play in the playoffs matters. There's a lot of players that are kind of on the bubble with the Packers. Okay, there are some players that if they had a huge run in the playoffs, maybe they keep their jobs versus losing their jobs. If they have a great game, maybe they're free agents and the Packers call them up after this game and say, hey, let's work out a deal. We'd like you to remain a Green Bay Packer. So there's a lot at stake for these players. So don't take that for granted. Believe me, as frustrated as we get at home and as nervous as we are and anxious that we are to see the Packers get a win, that's 100 times more important to these players than it is to Packers fans. Okay? Packers lose. The Packers fans get frustrated. They grumble. They talk for a couple days. And then they go on to other things. Maybe watch the rest of the playoffs and look forward to training camp. Some of these Packers fans, some of these Packers players might not have a career if it goes badly in this game going forward. They might be either getting themselves millions of dollars or losing millions of dollars based on how they play in this game. So this game absolutely matters to the players. 1,000%. Let's talk about some keys to the game. Now, we've already done 2 other Bears-Packers pregame shows. So you're going to see some similar highlights here. So I'm going to try to focus on some nuance. because we're going to have very similar talking points as far as keys to the games that we've had in those other two games. These two teams know each other very well. They match up very well. There's pros and cons on both sides of the ball for the Bears and the Packers. It's going to really come down to execution and some keys to the game that really make the difference here. So let's talk about that. All right. Number one for the Packers, they've got to lean into the run in this game like never before. The last two matchups, Bears versus Packers, Josh Jacobs was literally playing on one knee. He was in a lot of pain. There were several situations where there were key fumbles in the end zone, in the red zone, involving Josh Jacobs that I don't think would have happened if he was at 100%. Well, he's as close to 100% right now as he will ever be in the middle of a football season. Josh Jacobs has had 2.5 games off, and that was by design. Once the Packers lost the division, they decided that against the Ravens and against the Vikings, they were going to be very conservative about who they played to get ready for the playoffs, especially Josh Jacobs. So this is an opportunity for the Packers to really unleash Josh Jacobs, of hopefully fully healthy Josh Jacobs, to try to control this game. And that's something the Bears have not seen this year. So running Josh Jacobs early and often is going to be a huge part of this game. So I would like to see them constantly running the ball. We need to get to third and shorts. We need to keep the Bears off balance. We need to open up play action so Jordan Love, who's the best quarterback in this game by far, can make big plays down the field that will determine the outcome of this game. So setting up Josh Jacobs and the rest of the running backs for success is huge in this game. I would like to see the Packers target 115 to 120 yards rushing in this game. If the Packers could get to 120 yards rushing, their chances of winning this game go way up the charts. So we're going to watch that very closely. One of the other factors in this game is the Bears have significant cornerback issues right now. Now, you might think you could say the same thing about the Packers, but it's not like what the Bears are looking at right now. Right now, their slot corner is out for this game. They're going to have to go deep to the bench with players that have marginal skill for the slot wide receiver position. And that's why I think Jaden Reed is going to be a huge factor in this game. He could be the X factor in this game on third down. So the Packers are really going to have to exploit the fact that the Bears are in real trouble at their slot corner position. And I think that's going to be one of the keys to this game, is finding ways to have success in the middle on third down. Now, that doesn't necessarily have to be just Jaden Reed. As we saw in the first matchup against the Bears, having Christian Watson make plays in the middle of the field is also a huge factor. We also saw other Packers have success in the middle of the field against this defense. And that's only going to be amplified by the fact that their number 3 corner is out for this game. So the Packers really have to take advantage of that. Best ways to do that: run the ball, have play action in the middle of the field, and protect the ball. That's got to be one of the big points for this game, and we're going to talk about that as well. So I would love to see the Packers run the ball like we haven't seen in the first 2 games. It's going to be huge. Running the ball is going to be a priority for both teams in this game. And if all things are equal, if the Packers are running successfully and the Bears are running successfully and the ball gets into the hands of the quarterbacks to determine this game, I really like the Green Bay Packers' chances. So we're going to focus on running the ball as one of the big keys to the game. Again, I'd like to see 115 yards to 120 yards for the Packers at a minimum in this game. The more the Packers build up that yardage on the ground, the better their chances in this game are going to be. Because that not only controls the clock, it lets the Packers dictate things on offense, but it gives Jordan Love the opportunity to make big plays down the field. And that goes to my second key to the game. Jordan Love needs to take this game over. Okay? All the metrics, everything on paper says that Jordan Love is the best quarterback in this game. He needs to amplify that difference between him and Caleb Williams. The better Jordan Love plays, the chances the Packers go up. I mean, that's common sense, right? But no, it's really huge that the bigger delta that the Packers get out of Jordan Love, the better chance they have to win this game. So we're going to watch that very closely. Jordan Love is amazing at making big plays down the field, not only this season, but specifically against the Bears. The Bears have not had an answer for big plays from Jordan Love. If that continues, then the Packers are going to be in a really good spot for this game. Packers need to get their offensive line house in order and protect Jordan Love. That's the third key to the game. Not only protect Jordan Love, but also open up those running lanes for Josh Jacobs. The offensive line is going to be the healthiest for this game, assuming Zach Tom plays, that it's been since week 7 or 8. Actually, probably maybe even the whole season, because Zach Tom was hurt in game 1 against the Lions and has never really been 100%. So if the Packers' offensive line can put together their best game of the year, both in the run and the passing game, the Packers are going to be in a really good spot to get a victory. If the Packers allow 2 or less sacks in this game, that will be a very successful game, and it'll probably lead to a Packer victory. So we're going to watch that very closely. On defense, before we go to defense, turnovers. As long as we're talking offense, let's talk about that. Turnovers are really a huge factor in this game and every game that the Bears play. The Bears are 2-4 where they have 2 or less turnovers in a game. Turnover differential. So it's not just turnovers, it's the fact that the Bears have to win the differential by 2 or more to have a really good chance of winning this game. Jordan Love is excellent at protecting the ball. I don't care what the national media says. You look at the stats, you look at the metrics, and Jordan Love is very good at protecting the ball. Josh Jacobs had some fumble issues against the Bears in the 2 prior games, but he wasn't playing at 100%. Historically, Josh Jacobs is a very reliable running back at protecting the ball. Now that he is 100% healthy, look for that to return and to be a big factor in this game. If the Packers win the turnover game, or at least keep it neutral, they have a 60% plus chance of winning this game. If the Packers actually win the turnover differential, that probably goes to 70 to 80%. So holding on to the ball and hopefully getting some opportunistic plays on defense are going to be keys to this game. So let's talk about the defense now. Defense for the Packers has got to rally to stop big plays in the running game consistently, series after series. Okay? The Packers need to force 1 or 2, ideally 3, third and longs per drive for the Bears. If they can find ways to do that, either by making big plays in stopping the run early, or finding ways on second down to avoid a follow-up run play that gets it to third and short, then the Packers are going to be in a very good spot for this game. The Packers have to find ways to force Caleb Williams into third and long situations and force the Bears into 3 and outs, or at least turn touchdown drives into field goal drives. That would be a key differential for this game, because the Packers offense has never really been stopped by the Bears in the 2 games that they played. The Packers have been able to score at will. It's really where the Bears have made amazing plays on third down to continue to run drives that have really kept the Bears in games. If the Packers could play solid defense and force third and longs, then I think the Packers have an excellent chance of winning this game. They're going to have to get some big plays out of some key players in this game. So I want to highlight a couple players on defense that I really think are going to be keys. Lucas Van Ness, he's finally healthy. He finally was looking like himself in that game against the Ravens. He was one of the highlights of the game against the Ravens. Lucas Van Ness needs to find some ways to make some big plays in this game. I don't care if it's stopping a run on first down. I don't care if it's finding ways to get to the quarterback. Lucas Van Ness is going to be a big part of this game that they can really point to as a differential from game number 2. Packers corners need to stay home. They need to minimize explosive plays to the Bears. Romeo Dunze is going to be back in this game. And it's very important that the Packers adjust to the fact that the Bears are going to have more weapons on offense in the passing game than they've had the past 2 games against the Bears. They need to adjust for that. Okay, McKinney needs to focus on stabilizing the back end and bracketing some of those wide receivers to avoid big plays in the passing game for the Bears. If the Packers get more big explosive plays than the Bears, then the Packers' chances go up exponentially in this game. So the secondary has to find ways to play solid. I'd like to see Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker used to play big in this game. And what I would like to see that we didn't see in the first 2 games against the Bears, I would like to see Edgerrin Cooper and Quay Walker rushing the passer in certain passing situations. I understand that the Bears have great tight ends, and we don't want to be burned by those tight ends. But I think Jeff Hafley needs to find ways in the scheme, and that will occasionally mean putting corners on tight ends to get Quay Walker and Edgerrin Cooper into the backfield for this game. I think that's going to be a big factor. So let's get on to some other keys to the game. Sorry about the dog in the background. The Packers need to force third and longs consistently on these Bear drives. If the Bears are consistently running the ball on first and second down and getting short third down opportunities, it's going to be a long day for your Green Bay Packers. So, keys to the game for both teams is going to be running the ball. It's going to be having your quarterback be the playmaker and differential in the game, and I think that really favors the Green Bay Packers. Avoiding turnovers for the Packers versus creating turnovers for the Bears is going to be a huge factor in the game. If turnovers are neutral, the Packers have an excellent chance of winning this game because they are the better team on the field. I firmly believe that. So let's take a look at the matchups in this game, and then we'll talk about my final prediction for the game. So let's go ahead and switch over to PFF and take a look at the keys to the game here. Let's look at power ranking overall. Bears are at a significant disadvantage here. They're 18th. The Packers are 6th. If you look at power ranking defense, the Bears do have an advantage, but so much of this advantage, quite frankly, comes from the fact that they are forcing turnovers. If you take turnovers out of this factor, the Packers defense should be the superior defense on the field. So I think it's going to be very close between these two teams on defense. I think it's far closer to an even matchup on defense if you keep turnovers under control for the Packers. On offense, Packers are 5th, and the Bears are 7th. A lot of that has to do with the Packers really struggling on third down and in the red zone the last 4 weeks. If the Packers can turn that around and be very efficient in the red zone and be very efficient on third downs, which I think they will do with a healthy team, I think the Packers have a significant advantage on offense. Strike the schedule, pretty even. We're not going to worry about that. Run play percentage. I think this is one of the interesting things is that the Bears actually run the ball less than the Packers, even though they're better at running the ball. And if that trend continues, that's a real disservice that Ben Johnson is giving to his offense, because I think the Packers are far more vulnerable against the run on the inside than they are again passing situations. So it'll be interesting to see if the Bears finally lean into their running game and try to dictate terms for this game. We're going to watch that very closely. EPA per run, Bears are positive, which again really puzzles me when I look at the fact that the Bears just don't run the ball as much as they should. They are one of the best teams in the NFL at EPA per run, and they don't run the ball enough. Packers are negative there, but look at the EPA per pass here, and this is something we've talked about every game we played, Packers versus Bears. The EPA per play is usually in the Packers' favor in this game. Packers make bigger plays more often in the passing game than the Bears. If this trend continues, that really bodes well for the Packers this weekend. Quarterback comparison. Jordan Love has missed the last 2.5 games due to a concussion. But Jordan Love has come out and he said he's not worried about rust. The team also came out this week and admitted that Jordan Love was getting almost all of the snaps in practice, even though they knew he wasn't going to play against the Vikings. So Jordan Love has been practicing for this game for the last 2 weeks. And they really focused on getting Jordan Love ready for this game. And I think that's going to be one of the key factors in this game. So the quarterback matchup clearly goes to the Packers in this game. I don't think it's even close. Those of you that are betting as of the recording of this on Friday morning, the Bears are getting 1.5 points, which I think makes sense, and shows that the Packers are the better team on a neutral field. And that's something I would definitely argue. And we're going to talk about my predictions for the game in a moment. But let's take a look at the matchups in this game. Let's start out with the Bears on offense, 2 tight ends, which is really the Bears' strongest matchup against the Packers. The Bears have 2 elite tight ends, in my opinion. They're 2 very high-level tight ends, and that's really where they get the most bang for their buck, both in the rushing game and in the passing game, is using those 2 tight ends as being key drivers, especially on third down. So let's look at the Packers defense here. McKinney and Williams, I think, are one of the best top 3 or 4 safety combinations in the NFL. Williams has been playing really well especially before he got hurt this season. Hopefully, Williams and McKinney can be really key drivers for this matchup. Valentine has been struggling lately. We're going to have to see if Valentine actually starts in this game. That's something we're going to be watching very closely. I do think Valentine will start and play well in this game. Keyshawn Nixon is solid on the other side of the field, and they're going to have their really opportunities for success in this game because, quite frankly, the Packers' corners are going to have to hold up longer than we would like because the Packers are really struggling with pressure against the quarterback. Now, I'm hoping Lucas Van Ness will help with that this week, but the corners are really exposed by our limited pass rush. So the corners are going to have to hold in as much as possible in this game, especially on third downs. This game is going to be won or lost on the Packers' ability to force 3 and outs, or at least situations where they stop long drives and turn touchdowns into field goals. I think that's really going to be a key to this game. So the corners are going to have to hold up very well. On the defensive end front for the Packers, we've got Rashawn Gary, we've got Lucas Van Ness, we've got Enigbare. We're going to have to do a lot of rotational players on the defensive end spots to continue to get pressure on Caleb Williams as much as possible. The center of the line, the Packers are really struggling at stopping the run. We saw that far too well against the Ravens 2 weeks ago. I'm hoping that the Packers can find ways to shore that up. The biggest way that the Packers can help their defensive line against the run is they're going to have to find opportunities for the linebackers and their safeties to come up and help against the run on first down and second down. At some point, the Packers are going to have to bail out on stopping the pass to stop the run on early downs and force the Bears into third and long. It's going to be something that absolutely has to happen in this game. Let's look at the Bears side of the field. Odunze is going to be back, but he is not at 100%. He has not played since Black Friday, so it's going to be very interesting to watch Odunze and see if he is able to be an impact player for this game. As I said, Loveland and Clement are big threats in the tight end position, and the Packers are going to have to find ways to stop the run, but also make sure that they're not eaten alive by the tight ends for the Bears. Moore, I think, is solid on the outside, but I think the Packers corners are up to the challenge with the wide receivers for the Bears. All right. We know Caleb Williams is going to be a key part of this game. If the Packers can find ways to make Caleb Williams make mistakes on third and long, I think the Packers are going to be a good spot in this game. The Packers are going to be against a really great two-headed monster for the Bears in the running game, and that's really going to be a tough test for the Packers. The Packers are going to have to stop the run as a team in this game. It's super important. Let's go to 3 wide receivers for the Bears. Put the Packers in the nickel. This is going to be interesting to watch. And this is where the Packers really get an advantage on third and long against the Bears. Okay? You bring in Bullard in the slot, assuming he will be able to play. All indications he will play. And you force the Bears to make plays on third and long. Burden is likely going to be in the slot. And this matchup between Bullard and Burden might be one of the biggest keys to the game. The Packers have to find the way to get the ball off the field on third down. They cannot let the Bears have long drive after long drive after long drive. That will not be a recipe for success for the Packers. And what we're going to probably see on third down is we're going to probably see Lucas Van Ness rushing from the center. We'll have Rashawn Gary and Inigbari on the edges. And they're going to try to find ways to get pressure with this group against Caleb Williams. That's really going to be a big key to the game. But let's switch over to the Packers on offense, because I think really this is where the Packers really have significant advantages. So let's go to 2 tight end sets. All right. The Bears have cooled as far as their secondary the last couple weeks. They really are focused on creating turnovers with this group. Okay? The corners are not great on coverage. The safeties are not great on coverage. The linebackers are not necessarily great in coverage as well. And that's really going to be one of the keys to the game, is avoiding turnovers and forcing Wright, Johnson, Brisker, and Byards to make big plays in the rush defense for the Bears. So that is going to be the keys to the game. Now, this is our 2 tight end sets for the Packers. I think Watson has an advantage on the outside. I think Dobbs has an advantage on the outside. And I think Musgrave has opportunities to make plays in the middle of the field. But let's go to 3 wide receiver sets for the Packers, where I think the difference really is going to be made in this game. Gardner Johnson is out, so they're not going to have their slot corner. And Jaden Reed should be making hay all day in this game against whoever they throw out there in the slot. It's a significant advantage for the Packers. Look for the Packers to make big plays on third down. And it wouldn't surprise me if we occasionally see 3 wide receiver sets on second down for the Packers to try to take big advantages of the offensive superiority that the Packers have over the Bears defense. The Bears defense is just not a great coverage defense, and the Packers will have opportunities to make big plays in this game. So there are your key matchups to the game. And let's go to our prediction for this game. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to come out with a victory in this game. And I think the final score is going to be around Packers 27, Bears 24. So it's about a 3-point game, or it might be, Bears 23, Packers 27. I think that's probably more likely. I'd like to see the Packers win this game by 4 points or more. And if they could build up a lead and put the pressure on the Bears, I think they have every opportunity to come out with a victory. So that is my prediction for the game. Packers 27, Bears 23. And lock that in. Hopefully that will be the case. Just to give you an update, since we're recording this on Friday morning, we're going to have the actives, inactives on Saturday afternoon. If there's a significant change to what expectations are, I will come on and do at least a quick video to give you updates on actives and inactives before the game. But I think we know who the Packers are bringing to the field. I think we know who the Bears are bringing to the field early. So I don't think we're going to get big surprises there. Hopefully after a Packers victory, we will have a Victory Sunday stream where we talk about the Packers victory, and we will see you then. Enjoy the game. This is going to be a great game. Not only is it the playoffs, you got to give the hat off to Matt LaFleur to making it to the playoffs 6 out of 7 game seasons. Hopefully we could be in a position to continue on against the Seahawks next week. We'll talk to you then. Enjoy the game. As always, go Pack Go.